Good morning, everybody, and welcome to our last week of class. We're actually entering Unit 12, Week 12, and this particular week we're going to be thinking about reflective writing as we continue to revise our final projects. I want to thank you so much for just your continued dedication and careful work this semester. I know it's not easy to take a class where you're not meeting in person, where you're not sort of synchronously discussing prompts or able to ask questions as you would in a classroom setting. But for many of you, I think that the asynchronous format has worked really well. It's allowed you to kind of weigh in from wherever you are, at whatever point you are in life or geographic region. I know a lot of you have been traveling. A lot of you have had work obligations, lots of family obligations happening. So it's really nice to know that while we're still kind of living our separate lives, that we can come together in this common class to collaborate, to encourage each other, and to continue to grow as writers and readers. I hope that you're feeling pretty strong and confident in our course objectives this semester, thinking about the writing process involving inquiry, talking about your questions, getting feedback, revising, analyzing different kinds of situations depending on what the reading is, depending on what we're writing for, thinking about what makes our writing effective and persuasive, identifying issues relevant to our discourse community. And so what is a discourse community, and what is a question that particular community might be able to address or help make change for. You've also done a really great job of thinking about the scope of your project, assessing the feasibility and how much or how broad of a topic or how specific can your topic get. And a lot of you have done such a great job of starting with a broad research question, reading and thinking and talking about your questions, and then continuing to focus those questions based on what you find to something that's really a unique research project for you. We're also done a great job of evaluating source materials, both those online and through our CEOD databases, sort of the World Wide Web, and kind of also trying to rein those in depending on our access through journals online through COD. Thinking about what sources are saying and how they're saying it. And finally, using responses from me and from peers during our discussion, our composition corners and our discussion groups, and also our collaborative reading this semester to kind of grow as readers, to learn from each other, and to build on specific ideas as we're reading a variety of essays. This week, I want to continue to focus on using suitable methods of citation. It's really important in this class that we continue to work on best practices for summarizing, paraphrasing, and directly quoting. We did submit those paraphrase activities for those of you who weren't able to submit them on the original SPQ worksheet. I'm still reading through those paraphrases, just those one-off paraphrases. But if you have any questions, I do have the APA Citations and SPQ tab, just as an easy way to get to those sources. How to cite your sources, APA 7 style. And then I have that choosing and documenting research format and worksheet that gives you ideas about how to not only avoid these common logical fallacies, but more importantly, thinking about when to paraphrase, how to paraphrase, and how to directly quote. Should you need any help thinking about how to cite a particular website or journal article, or you're still stuck on what exactly is this kind of material that I'm reading, but I want to cite it, I'm so happy to meet with you through conferences this week, but also just send me an email if there's a particular source that you're just stuck on or you can't quite get, and a sort of search through our Citing Our Sources tab isn't helping. Before we jump into this week's materials, I just want to congratulate you again on 12 weeks of really hard work, of really close reading, careful writing, and collaboration. This week what we're going to be doing is thinking about revising, right? I have a few last minute activities just to close out our class to kind of provide a nice atmosphere for reflection and revision. As you'll see, so many of you have signed up for conferences. I've added actually some extra conference times, so please feel free to sign up for those. I have more on Wednesday evening that I've added, and actually it looks like there's an open slot from 10 to 10:30 a.m. this morning as well. Remember that this is not only a great chance just for me to meet with you and touch base, but to kind of get some personalized feedback, of course, on your draft. If you don't have a chance to meet with me during any of these time slots, please know that you can still make a WRSA appointment writing, reading, speech assistance at COD, a free service for any class, really. So beyond this class, it'd be a great thing to check out too. And make sure that you send me an email that says, that from your email, have your coach email me that says, I met with Franco and we talked about his letter for change, for example. Look at this week. We are going to continue to have conferences up until Wednesday night because I do want to make sure you have time to revise. And I'd like you to contribute to something fun, just a word cloud contribution, reflecting on like a few words that, or a few concepts that you feel more confident or that you sharpened this particular semester. I have 2 extra credit opportunities that I'm going to close out class with as well. And I just left you a note. Congratulations on completing this 1102 journey with me, this adventure. I think it's been an adventure to meet each of you. I wanted to include a sort of final reading. Here are some examples of kind of the things that you're doing for this class, of real world applications. And that's what this week's all about. It's revising and thinking about how the work you've done in this class translates beyond our class. So here's an article from St. Louis University, my alma mater. You'll see that advocacy and thinking about the community are big parts of St. Louis University. There's a whole community engagement grant that some students have won, and it talks about what they're going to do to improve their communities. The 1818 Community Engagement Grant Program has only been around since 2018, but there's already SLU students participating and making use of those funds, seeing how they respond to the COVID-19 pandemic. Delta Gamma Connections is also working on community needs projects, and so you can see what the physics community is doing as well. Everyone's trying to engage with the community and to make it sort of a better place to live, a better place to learn and grow. Danielle Davis is a professor of higher ed at SLU School of Education, and she's the founder and executive director of Circle of Excellence Network, an initiative that improves supplemental instruction for underrepresented youth in grades 6 to 12. With a focus on homeschooled students, the network offers parent-educator workshops and exposure to a rigorous curriculum in science, technology, engineering, and math. So, just thinking about how these projects manifest, whether it takes them years to grow or just 12 weeks to grow, I think it's important that the sort of kernel that initiates some projects like the ones you're working on begins small and can develop into something really fundamental and changing to the communities. I also include here kind of a fuller, more developed idea of our kind of community needs assessment that's created by the CDC. This is actually the sort of steps that a larger group would participate in. And so you can see that your project is kind of like a mini community needs reflection and project that is part of a really substantial job that lots of people participate in. So overview of community needs assessment, plan for community needs assessment, and all of these kinds of steps are things that we've addressed in various levels of specificity this semester. I also include an article called The Top 10 Community Needs According to U.S. Residents, and you'll be excited to see that a lot of your projects are addressing issues that are sort of aligning with the findings of this article. Aging in place is a particular theme, health and wellness for many of you, the natural environment, education, land use, public trust. I didn't see that as much. And so the other 5 community needs, according to this particular study in this ebook, I'll attach to our units in full. So this is just a partial preview of the article. So your 2 major tasks this week then are to continue to revise your own community needs letter for change. And that's, in addition to meeting with me or WRSA coach, and then to also share just one word that describes the success you had in English 1102. It's really easy to kind of get to this, to add to this word cloud. You can copy the link and click, open in a new tab. You can use this QR code, however you want to do that. You have actually up to 3 words if you want to contribute more, or you can do phrases as well. But I'd appreciate that just to kind of get a sense of what sort of stuck out to you, what's something that was maybe more memorable, something that you worked on that you were wanting to focus on this particular semester. So again, continue to Zoom conference with me or your WRSA coach. If you do the coaching part, please make sure to send me an email or have your coach send me an email that just confirms that you met with them and sort of worked on the revision process. And remember to bring your letter for change prompt so that the particular tutor knows what exactly you've been working on and sort of the goals and the rubric for this particular project to help guide your feedback. And finally, you're going to be submitting your revised letters at the very latest by Friday. I do have to submit final grades on Monday, so everything has to be in at the very latest on Friday. When submitting your final draft, however, I do want to make sure you leave a 5 to 10 sentence revision reflection. I just want to know in the comments section of your submission the detail, the steps you took to revise the draft. On all of our rubrics you've noticed this semester, I put a huge emphasis on the drafting process and revision. And what I found is that so many of you, I'd say 95% of our class submits drafts. And I think that's amazing because in the past where drafts weren't awarded any points, I'd get maybe 50% of students turning in their drafts and then sort of just moving to the final draft stage. So I hope it's been really beneficial to you to have like the bulk of your project at least in your mind, or at least in the beginnings down on paper, so that you have somewhere to move on to build and elaborate upon. And I just want to know between the sort of draft version in our meeting or your WRSA meeting and the final version, what are some specific steps you took? Remember, we did the sort of add, revise, remove, and that was a sort of focus on revision processes for our community needs reflection. So is there anything specific to this particular iteration, this particular revision process that you'd like me to know that you worked on? I will give you 25 points on our rubric for this assignment, you'll notice, to kind of defend your ability to revise. It's evident that the writer has carefully observed draft feedback and taken care to implement revision changes. Well, the easiest way for me to tell is for you to kind of outline the things that you've done from draft 1 to draft 2, whether that's changing your writing, whether that's kind of shifting how you're thinking about your project, whether that's revising your discourse community to make it a more effective communication. What does that look like? Feel free to use our course objectives or to use the rubric here to help guide some of that feedback. It could have to do with thinking about your discourse community. Your revisions may have had to do with the content or evidence. It might have had to do with research and integrating source materials. So it could be any and all of those things, but I would like a very brief 5 to 10 sentence revision reflection tacked on to your submission. And to do that, you'll just click on, submit your final draft. You'll scroll down, you can upload your paper project, and then you can also add the comment down here. This is going to be for your revision comment. And finally, what would be the end of the semester without a little bit of extra credit? For those of you who would like to participate, the first thing that I would like you to do or to consider participating in is starting the conversation with your letter. All of you are revising your letters this week, and what I'd like to see is that you actually send your letter for change to your intended audience. Attach a screenshot of your sent email and any response you might receive by Friday, May 19th. Again, you don't have to do this. This is extra credit. If you feel like you are compelled to share your research, I would love that. 2 things. Make sure that you don't actually include the letter in the text of your email. I would rather just suggest that you tell your reader that you've attached the letter. The second thing is you might want to link your website, but then that means you might want to go back to your website and just revise how it looks a little bit. You can get rid of anything specific to like units, for example, because that won't really make sense to a discourse community. But it is a nice testament to kind of the research and the thought that you put into your particular project. Finally, there's the extra credit Voices for the Future option, and basically what I'm going to ask you to do, and this is again just optional, do you remember the first student recordings I shared with you from the first class, the previous English 1102 class? Maybe you do, maybe you don't, but I did share those with you in the first 2 weeks of our class. And I hope that for some of you, especially if you're new to COD, that this maybe made you feel welcomed and excited to start our class. So now it's your turn. I will have another 1102 class in the fall, and I would love to share your voices with them. I have a few steps here to take, and in order to do that recording, you can just use that Vocaroo platform. Again, you don't have to download or log in. It's just that free voice recording app. You don't have to use Vocaroo, but feel free to. And for 10 points, I would love for you to share your words and insights so that your peers will feel welcome and excited to take this class with me. I want to thank you again for a really great semester. It's been tricky. All of us have really kind of busy lives, I could see how involved all of you are with family, friends, and work. And I just wanted to say thank you for dedicating your time to this class with me and each other, and for putting our work in. I hope it was a rewarding experience for you. It certainly was for me, and I can't wait to see your final projects. Thank you so much for listening.